Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I have another book haul for you. It feels like I just filmed my last book haul, my May book haul. First, as always, I'm going to start with any subscription books or pre-order books. This month in June, I got another 3 books from Book of the Month. It was another 3-book month, folks. The first is Recursion by Blake Crouch. So this book was on my most anticipated reads for the middle of 2019, and then Book of the Month offered Recursion, so I was able to cancel my pre-order. But this is a science fiction novel. It has to do with a strange affliction, people being tortured basically by memories of events that didn't happen to them. And so at the same time, a neuroscientist is developing a way that everyone can tangibly re-experience certain parts of their lives. She's making memories more material. And so it's a real supposedly it's a real mind trippy science fiction book dealing with, memory, which is always makes for an interesting story. I also picked up Nearly Normal Family. This was one of the monthly picks. It is by M.T. Edwardson. This is a story of a young girl who's accused of a crime. Her mother is a defense attorney and her father is a pastor. I just find that dynamic to be super fascinating. Obviously, we're going to get elements of spirituality from the father's side and elements of, criminal defense attorney law from the other side. I feel like it'll be very interesting. The book supposedly asks how far you will go to protect your children. And then I picked up a much older book. This is Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer. So I don't know if this was actually even offered for any particular month, but it's available as an add-on now. I'm in the zone where I'm looking for really interesting nonfiction that I think that I will like. Nonfiction that will read like fiction. Nonfiction that will read like a thrilling narrative. A lot of people really love this book. If you're unfamiliar, it is about Jon Krakauer's journey to the summit of Mount Everest and people who lost their lives alongside him while he was on that trip. So I like a survivalist thriller, so long as this doesn't get bogged down with too much technical jargon. Because I don't really foresee myself like climbing mountains. I don't really need to learn how to climb a mountain. I will not need that skill set. I did receive one pre-order this month. That book is waiting for Tom Hanks. This is by Carrie Winfrey. But this is a romantic comedy. It's about a girl that is waiting for her own version of Tom Hanks. She has high expectations and wants her life to be like a romantic comedy. So I already read it. Like I said, check out the review for that. I'm doing the New to Me series. This started out with New to Me historical romance, and there's a couple of other specific genres or authors that I want to try out, but I did buy 4 books to keep in mind for that series. The first would be historical fiction. I picked up The Girls by Emma Cline. It's the 1960s, which, does that qualify as historical fiction? Probably. I don't know. But it's California, the 1960s. It's about these girls who are kind of taking place with or are participating in or at least infatuated with this infamous cult and the man who is its charismatic leader. So the focus is on Evie, the newest member of this friend group, and how her attraction to this lifestyle or her obsession with this one girl in particular starts leading her down this very dark road. So I am strangely attracted to this book. And it's a very polarizing book. I mean, people either love this book or they don't love this book. I fully intend to find this book its place in my reading list. Next, definitely historical fiction. This is Kristen Hanna, The Nightingale. I don't think I need to say anything at all about this book. One of the most popular adult books on booktube of the last 2 years. It's longer than I thought it was. I mean, this would either fit into a new to me historical fiction or a new to me Kristen Hanna in general. I might pick up an additional Kristen Hanna book and try all three, which is probably a better idea since people are so infatuated with the Nightingale, but have not necessarily broadened their Kristen Hanna experience. So that might be the way that I go. The next book is Darkly Dreaming Dexter. This is by Jeff Lindsay. This is the book that starts it all, the Dexter series. And I picked this up because I want to maybe do an adaptation, a new to me adaptations. I don't experience adaptations often. Now this is one's going to be a little bit strange because I have tried to watch Dexter, the television show, and I never got hooked. I didn't dislike it, but it never grabbed me the way that a lot of shows do. So we're going to try again with a new to me series about adaptations. This book will fit in. We're going to read the book and then I'll try the adaptations for any of them that I pick up. Does everybody know Dexter? Dexter is a Miami police officer, but he's a Miami police officer by day and a serial killer by night. So there's a big, long series about Dexter. The next book that I picked up with a purpose is Joe Hill, Strange Weather, 4 short novels. I picked this one up from Book Outlet because one of my intended video ideas is to do second chance, give authors that I did not like the first time around a second chance. Joe Hill will be one of those authors, and I have other Joe Hill books on my shelf, but here's the thing. They're pretty long. Like, this is a book of 4 short stories, and so I'd much rather read something to completion. Since I DNF'd the first Joe Hill, I would rather go story by story quickly, read one fully to decide how far I want to go, how far I want to inch my way through Joe Hill. One day, when I'm looking for ideas of videos, I do have in the back of my brain second chance author video. And then lastly, I got this chunker. So not like me at all. A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. This is the Man Booker Prize winner. And if we're going whole hog on this new to me series thing, then this is about as uncomfortable a read as I could give myself. Number one, it's huge. It's over 600 pages. So first of all, it's a chunker. Second of all, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, the fact that it's the Man Booker Prize winner or a Man Booker Prize winner would make people run to the bookstore and pull this off the shelf. This would be the last thing I would pull off the shelf. I do not buy books that have won prizes or awards because they're not my taste. They're never my taste. And so this is a huge departure from me. Marlon James himself is very critically acclaimed. But I mean, it's historical. It's over 600 pages. It's a literary prize winner. You could not get further away. I had no business buying this book. However, I did pick it up from the used bookstore. I think it was only like $8 and it's regularly $30. So, and that's it. Those are the only books that I bought with a specific purpose, meaning, I plan on using those books to further my YouTube creativity. But I did also pick up this month of Blood and Bone by Nora Roberts. This is the second book in her Chronicles of the One series, which thus far is 3 books, I believe. Look at that. How pretty is that? I did read and talk about the One on this channel since I've been back to BookTube. It was a very strange experience for me because when I finished reading the One, I didn't like it. But I didn't feel like I was justified in not liking it because it was very clear to me that it was a part of a whole. And So I didn't want to unfairly judge the whole by this one book, because it might be exactly the book that we need once the whole story has been read. But that's why I'm continuing. It was a good story. It just didn't work on its own. It doesn't work on its own. And so I feel compelled or obligated to continue on in the series. The official Nora Roberts seal guarantees this is a new work. What does that mean? Is that because some of her stuff is republished and people buy it and then get pissed or something? I mean, I guess Nora Roberts has earned the right to put her picture on the back of every single one of her books, but this is not very common anymore. Like, this was the thing to do. 80s, 90s, 2000s. I have so many old hardcovers that have just the whole back is the picture of the author. But we don't do this anymore. I don't, so this is weird. Awkward. At the used bookstore, I purchased Luckiest Girl Alive. This is by Jessica Knoll. This is the story of a girl who has purposefully engineered her life and become very successful and has everything that any woman could ever want. But of course, she's harboring a very dark secret. It says, explores the unbearable pressure that so many women feel to have it all. This is a debut novel by Jessica Knoll. I remember seeing this. Next is Bring Me Back. This is by B.A. Paris. This will be the third B.A. Paris book I own. But I've only read one. But this sounds positively chilling. So this is the story of a young woman who is on vacation, I believe, with her boyfriend. Yeah. But they stop at a service station and he gets out to go inside. And when he returns, she's gone. She has vanished into thin air and there is no sign of her. So jump forward to present day and the guy is engaged to the missing girl's sister. And shortly before they're going to be married, there's a lot of red flags. And one of those flags is that his current fiance's sister, his ex-girlfriend, has been seen, and things of hers are starting to appear, and there's emails, and, she's like coming back from wherever she was. It probably sounds like the most chilling B.A. Paris book. Obviously, I've read Behind Closed Doors, and the other one that I have is The Breakdown, but this one, for some reason, strikes me as the most chilling. Little domestic thriller action for you there. Next, I picked up Suffer the Children by Craig DeLuey. This is a used copy. This is another one of those books that sat in my Amazon Save for Later cart for like ever. And then I bought a Craig DeLuey novel earlier this year. It's featured in my horror haul. But that's when I realized that Suffer the Children is written by Craig DeLuey. So I was like, oh, well, now I have to buy it. So this is the story of children that die all over the world and then they come back. But the only way that they will stay is if they are fed or if they consume blood. Now, I don't know if it's like a zombie thing or a vampire thing. I'm not really sure. But basically, all these children in the world need to be fed from the living. And and it says, without that, they die again. How far would you go to keep someone you love alive? So, I mean, Peter Clines, who is a pretty famous writer of darker fiction, says that this is the most disturbing book he's ever read. So I don't want to amp it up too much. I don't want to hype it up too much for myself because I'll end up disappointing myself. But it does say a novel of terror. But it just seems like such a fun, juicy read. Next, if y'all don't know what book this is, I don't know what to tell you. You clearly need to watch more of my videos if you don't know what this is about. This is my last acquisition from Pierre Lemaitre. Long story short, a lot of people were hyping up this book, Alex, by Pierre Lemaitre on booktube, and they loved it, and they, were encouraging people to read it. However, Alex is actually book 2 of a series. So I started and I thought, well, I really need to read book 1. So I bought book 1, which I still haven't read. And then I came across book 3 on Book Outlet for a really great price. So I picked up book 3 and still did not have the main book that everybody was raving about. So I finally have it. I've rounded out the trilogy. There's no more books to buy in this series. So I'm really hoping that you're all very happy for me. I'm happy for myself. It is a huge relief to finally have this book on my shelf. This particular book is about someone named Alex kidnapped and suspended from the ceiling of an abandoned warehouse. And her abductor appears to want only to watch her die. So our police investigator, Camille, uncovers the details of the woman's history and is forced to acknowledge that she is no ordinary victim. She is beautiful, but also extremely tough and resourceful. Before long, saving Alex's life will become the least of Commandant Verhoeven's considerable challenges. So, kind of sounds like Method 1533. But of the 3 books in the series, this one is supposedly the strongest, but don't do anything halfway. That's what I say. Next, I picked up Unteachable. This is by the author formerly known as Leah Rader. I picked this up because it's talked about quite a bit on booktube by romance readers as being a pretty good forbidden romance. It's about a romance between a student and a teacher. I don't have a lot of great experience or positive experiences with romance books that are hyped on booktube. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of times no, just no. Came across this book at the used bookstore, The Only Child. This is by Andrew Piper. He's a writer of horror / the gothic fiction, but The Only Child is about a forensic psychiatrist who is put in charge of this nameless patient, and he claims that he was not born, he was created, and it becomes clear that he put himself there specifically in her care to do something, kill her, I don't know, we don't know what, but he does reveal that he knew her mother, and her mother died in a bear attack. So, okay, he wasn't born, he was created. And that was 200 years ago. And the psychiatrist's mother died in a bear attack. So I think we know what we're dealing with here. Right? Maybe. What if your father wasn't who he said he was? What if you carried secrets within your blood? Oh, I hadn't read that part. That he's not there to kill her. He's her daddy. Oh my goodness. Andrew Piper, I just have a feeling that Andrew Piper is not going to let me down. All of the books that I have by this dude sound good. Next, I picked up another book. I think this is the second book that I'll own from Paul Dwarin. This one's called The Precipice. He writes crime thrillers centered around a Maine game warden, Mike Bowditch. And this one is about 2 female hikers who have gone missing off of the Appalachian Trail. While searching for these 2 women with his girlfriend actually goes missing. 2 bodies show up, and we don't know at this point if they're the bodies of the hikers or what. But basically just a fun crime fiction novel, again with a survivalist aspect. There are certain settings in a book that are just like auto buy. Yes, I have author auto buys and stuff, but there's certain settings that are auto buy for me, especially if the books hit on the genres that I read. So Michigan, where I'm from, Maine, which I love, Alaska, which I also love. I can't help but want to dive into books that take place in those places. So and now that I'm thinking about it, Alaska, Michigan, and Maine have quite a bit of things in common. So I picked up The Trapped Girl by Robert Dugoni. This is the second or third book by this author that I own. Again, it's a crime thriller series that is based around one certain individual. In this case, it's Tracy Crosswhite. She's a detective in the Puget Sound. Washington is also... Anyways. And this particular book is about a woman's body being discovered in the Puget Sound. And while they're trying to identify this victim, it becomes very obvious that this woman never wanted to be identified. Like, she had concealed her own identity. So there must be some story there. But she was found in a crab trap, which is, the trapped girl. Anyways, this happens to be the fourth book in this series. I own My Sister's Grave. I know that for sure. Which is the first book in the Tracy Crosswhite. This one's the fourth. I can't remember off the top of my head if I own more. I really should look it up, but I don't really feel like it. Next, I am ashamed to admit that my Ted Dekker obsession continues. I don't know what it is. I'm inexplicably drawn to Ted Dekker books, and I've never read one, but they all sound so fascinating. So I picked up White, which is the next book in the Circle trilogy, the one that you can either start with book one or end the series with book one, depending on, depending on what you want to do. But Ted Dekker writes Christian suspense. Again, I've talked about how, I don't actively seek him out. I just see a book and I'm like, oh, well, there's another Ted Dekker book. Let me read the back. And then I read the back and I'm like, I have to have this book. So I have Black, Red, and White now in the Circle series. Green, I think, is the last one. When White was written, apparently it was written as the finale of a trilogy. I don't know. There's another one. I guess it's green. I think it's green. It's not purple. That's for damn sure. But anyways, about the third book in the Circle trilogy. I don't even want to know what that one's about because I haven't read the first two yet. I picked up Adam. This is an older book, like 2009, maybe. 2008. This book is from 2008. It's 11 years old. A profiler named Daniel who is trying to find the serial killer named Eve. He is tracking Eve and he is actually fatally shot. He dies. He's clinically dead for 20 minutes and then he is resuscitated. And so the book is about him trying to retrieve memories from prior to his death and still find the serial killer, as well as grappling with what he experienced within those 20 minutes of death. It alludes to him going as far as trying to re-experience his death. This could be the worst or the best thing that I have ever purchased in my entire life. My Pet Serial Killer. Michael Seidlinger. Whatever. This is the story. Actually, it says 50 Shades of Grey with cataracts of blood. Dexter meets secretary in Seidlinger's provocative, disturbing literary thriller, reinventing the serial killer genre, exploring the twisted psychology of desire. Basically, this is about a woman studying forensic science, and she purposefully seduces a serial killer, and then keeps him as her pet. It's basically about a woman who's wielding this sexual prowess to control a serial killer and make him do her bidding. It says it's a compelling psychosexual portrait of a woman obsessed with performance, with power, with sex, and with gore. So, like I said, it sounds like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity read. Something you're not going to come across very often, if ever again. Let me see if any of my Goodreads folks have read this. Well, it's got a 3.69 average rating on Goodreads. Only has 33 reviews, 126 ratings. So not a lot of people have read it. None of my friends have read it. the author reviewed it as 5 stars and said 5 stars of shamelessness, which that's kind of what it sounds like. Dark, but better than I was expecting. Claire is a complex character, and I'm still pondering all the symbolism. I didn't like this at all. There's nothing here but violence. Violence can be used to say something, but this has nothing to say. An interesting premise. What if someone controls a serial killer, but what you end up with is 2 characters you loathe? There's nothing shocking here. Anyone who has read Jack Ketchum or Bret Easton Ellis has read worse. But those authors made the violence hit you on a deeper level. This book is like a child cursing. There's no substance. Depends on if you're teaching your child to curse correctly. Someone else says, I did not like the style of this book. This was gruesome and also boring. Somehow. The author had a weird meandering style I could not take to. So, like I said, it could be a sticker. Like I said, it could be the best decision that I've ever made or the absolute worst decision that I've ever made. And it's kind of a chunker. I mean, it's definitely upwards of 450 pages, so there's that. That's it. That's what I have for June. All of that craziness. Thank you so much for watching, for always watching. Let me know what you think of the books that I picked up. Let me know if you've read them, have experience with them, or if you've heard good or bad things about them. All that beautiful stuff in the comment section down below. I will see you all very soon.